Hey, this is Matt Cardona from the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, aka the Michael Jordan of wrestling figure collecting, and you're watching Toy Quest 101.
My name is Ileana, my father Miguel.
And I'm so excited, we're so excited because we have the man himself, Matt Cardona, on the show. Thank you so much. We're huge fans of your YouTube, of your podcast, of your wrestling career, just pretty much huge fans of you, period. So thank you so much for supporting kids with autism and special needs and being on Toy Quest 101.
Well, thanks for having me. I can't wait to chat figures and see what you guys have in store for me.
Cool, man. So first question is going to be, because I'm a hardcore wrestling fan and I have to gear it towards wrestling. So we're going to eventually get to the podcast because that's what the show is about. But I want to talk first about Z, the True Long Island story, only because I really believe you were at the forefront of using social media to build the brand, and you were the most innovative. And I believe that got you over to where you're at today and where you're using social media today. So talk to us how that made you successful and how not giving up made your career what it is.
Yeah, so I mean, long story short, I say that now, but it's probably gonna be long story long. I wasn't really happy with my spot on the roster in WWE at the time. So instead of doing nothing about it or just complaining, I wanted to do something that could hopefully try to change that. So I started Z True Long Island Story, which was a YouTube show. And at first there was no master plan. I didn't know where it was going to lead. I didn't know what it was going to be. If you watched the first episode, they're all on YouTube still. The first one is me in my living room, just talking, and a couple skits here and there. And then it evolved, and I got better at editing because I would do it all myself. And I would use characters from WWE, but then characters from my real life, like my dad or some of my friends. And with social media and Twitter and Facebook, WWE wasn't on board yet. I mean, it was going to happen eventually. It's not like I said, I'm the only person who's using social media. And thank God, because now WWE does stuck. It was going to happen eventually. Yeah. But I was, I think, one of the first people to realize, hey, I can take my wrestling character and my real life and kind of mesh them together. And that's kind of what the show was. It was wrestling oriented and I was in character, but it was also my life. And I think that's what, resonated with so many people.
Yeah, it for sure did. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was so excited to see you on the WWE roster. But fast forward now to maybe just a couple years ago. Now, all of a sudden, you have one of my favorite podcasts, and you're still using social media. You're doing it with Brian Myers, a.k.a. Kurt Hawkins, one of the best YouTube shows for wrestling figures out there, period, in my mind. Talk to us about how that started.
Yeah, so I mean, for that, you got to go all the way back to 2003 when we first met. We went to the same wrestling school, and at first we didn't like each other. We were each other's competition, and I don't remember the exact conversation, but we figured out that we both still collected wrestling figures. And in 2003, it wasn't really like accepted to be 18 years old and playing with toys. So once we realized there was somebody just like us, we instantly became best buds. And we never grew out of the hobby, and the collections got more and more serious. And we decided, hey, I think it's time that we start a podcast about this. Just talking about it, shooting the breeze about it, letting the world in on some of the rare stuff that we have found. And we have so many weird connections within the toy business. And we have the luxury of, traveling all over the world and getting to big hunt in so many different stores. So we turned it into a podcast, which then turned into a YouTube channel. So there's so much stuff. There's so mumuch content. It's a lot of fun. And the fans have really made it as big as it has become.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, we watch it. You just were on the Miz and Miz.
That's right.
Show.
Yeah.
A super cool show, right? You send Miz on a mission to get a $10,000 moon variant Kamala. So super neat. We definitely love the show. Now, as you know, Toy Quest 101 is also a toy show. We do have figures, and Eaglemoss send us some cool figures here.
Yeah.
I want to show you.
I love Eaglemoss. I actually have an Ultimate Warrior back here on display, an Eaglemoss Ultimate Warrior, if I can get it. It's very delicate. But
no, that's super cool, man.
Yeah, these are great little like statue things. And they come with cool magazines as well, which I like.
Yep. Here are the magazines right here on the back. We have The Rock, and of course we have Finn Balor. And then they also send us a Bailey.
Oh, there you go.
Cool. And these guys are neat, man. Like you said, they're little statues. You could put them up, put them on for show. They're about 5 inches tall. They have a cool picture box, so for those who don't want to take their figures out of the box, it's cool to display as well. We'll open up a couple of these while Liana asks her next question. Go ahead.
Sure.
What is your most valuable figure and which one is your favorite?
Your most valuable figure and which one is your favorite? Two-part question.
I have I've talked about this a lot, but it's the truth. This Rhythm and Blues Greg the Hammer Valentine. It was unreleased in the Hasbro line. It was shown in a Toys R Us ad inside a WWE magazine in like 90, 91. Long story short, the figure never came out. I now have that prototype in my collection. So that is the most valuable one in my collection, but I don't know if it's my favorite. I mean, some of my favorite ones are things that have no real value.
Right.
You know, maybe for instance, like a Zach Ryder figure, you know, as a kid growing up, finally getting your own figure. I mean, what's cooler than that? It's probably, you know, worth $10-15, but to me, it's worth everything.
Actually, that's Ilyana's next question. Go ahead. Why don't you ask it? Yeah.
Which one?
This one right here.
Do you have your own action figure, and how did you feel when you had your very first action figure made?
Yeah, so I have every one of my action figures, and I'm like crazy. So I have them on display in the package. Then, of course, I have one out of the package. And then I have a backup in the package and a backup out of the package. So I basically have at least 4 of every one that came out. And the first time ever was super cool. It was with Jax. I think it came out in 2008. It's a 3-pack with myself, Hawkins, and Edge. It was called Treacherous Trios. And it's so cool that our last WWE figure is a Mattel representing that era too, the Edge heads. Available now, ringside at collectibles.com. Use code MAJOR to save 10%. Had to throw that plug in there. But yeah, so it's a cool bookend for me that my first WWE figure is an Edgehead figure, and my last WWE figure is an Edgehead figure.
That's pretty neat. One of my favorites is the one, I think it's an Elite figure, where it almost looks like you're wearing Macho Man Randy Savage gear.
Oh, yeah. So that one is very special to me because you're kind of right, because it's inspired. I like to say inspired and not copied. It looks inspired from Ultimate Warrior, Sting, and Macho Man. It's a Sting from Great American Bash,
Yes.
a Macho Man from a Random Raw, and Ultimate Warrior from Royal Rumble. And it's funny because Mattel has made all 3 of those figures. So what I did was I kind of combined all of those looks, put my logos on instead, and I thought, well, maybe Mattel will make a figure of this, and luckily they did. So I wore that gear only one time, and Mattel made the figure, and now I have them all lined up in my toy room. So it's really, really cool. You know, 3 of the greatest legends in wrestling history, and Zach Ryder.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. But like I said, it's my favorite. I mean, the gear is super neat. I love it.
Yeah, it's very we say toyetic. It's very toyetic, you know. And I love when I'm at autograph signings. I use like the red, white, and blue paint pens to sign. It looks really nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we just opened up The Rock.
Oh, there he is.
Check him out. He looks pretty cool. I mean, for these figures being small, they have a lot of detail. As you can see, the tattoo on there, it's pretty cool. You got the bull, the Brahma bull on the trunks and stuff. So, kind of like it. Your Ultimate Warrior must be neat too. I
actually have a lot of those as well. They look, you know, at first I wasn't really super into those things. And I think it was at Toy Fair this past year. I went to the Eaglemoss booth and they had like all lined up. I was like, wow, all lined up. These are one hell of a collection, you know?
Yeah.
So they're really, really cool. And I love like the magazine that it comes with because, you know, growing up, wrestling magazines was such a huge part of my childhood. And now they don't really have magazines anymore, you know? So this is like the next best thing.
Yep, here's Bailey's, so you guys can see the magazine on the back. Yeah, that's super cool, man. Eaglemoss, I mean, I think they did it right on the bottom. Check that out, has his name on it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and they're not that expensive, which is nice.
No.
Super cool to have that lineup in your house. Ilyana, why don't you ask your other question? Yep, that one.
Is there a figure that got away that you want or don't have?
Yeah, so there's this figure from the mid-'90s that it was one of those figures that never came out. It's a Lex Luger painted in his USA gear. You know, there was a prototype on eBay, and it was one of those things where I lost the auction. It was a good thing for my wallet that I lost, but it was bad for my collection that I lost. But that's the one that got away because it's a prototype. So there's maybe only one in the world. So I don't have it. And, I've come to terms with that. It's okay that I don't have it. But, one of the best things about collecting, I think, is like walking into a Target or a Walmart and it sucks when you don't get the figure that you're looking for. But when you finally get it, like, oh, man, what a great feeling.
Yeah, it's almost like the hunt, the thrill of finding something.
Oh, for sure.
Is probably the best. I mean, we do it as well sometimes where we're looking for exclusive Walmart exclusives or anything like that when it comes to a figure. But that's always the fun part. I mean, we get yelled at a lot for spending time in the toy section, but
so do I. Don't worry.
That's awesome. So back to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. Again, one of my favorite podcasts. One of my favorite segments is the FWF, the Figure Wrestling Federation, because of the draft. Because of how you guys go and sit there and do their promos and the pictures of the toys and stuff. I think it's amazing. Is there a segment that you favor the most?
So the FWF is pretty wild because, at the end of the day, we are essentially playing with these toys. And like you said, we had a draft on YouTube. Go check it out. It's ridiculous. Where Brian and we drafted figures from the late 90s and created our own rosters. And instead of actually playing with the toys, we're not on the floor playing. We kind of, verbally express like what would have happened if we were playing. And then we do the figure photography. So like doing the figure photography, it takes me usually like 2 hours per week for each show. And that's like essentially the adult version of playing with figures, is setting them up in poses and taking pictures. And then when my fiance yells at me I'm like, babe, I'm working, I'm getting paid to do this. I'm getting paid to set up these figures in different poses. It's a lot of fun, but yes, I will admit it is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work to, not only do the figure photography, but I got to book these storylines every week.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's funny because you get nervous. I mean, I think you both do. You guys get nervous, especially when somebody picks their pick and it was one of yours.
Oh, yes.
It's funny. I did see the one, which I thought was hilarious, of you and the Ultimate Warrior. And you're trying to spark up the little.
Oh yeah, I lit pyro in the office. I lit a sparkler up. I actually had to do that twice. I did. First of all, when we do the podcast, it's all audio, but we do film it just in case. So just for me, Brian, and Mark, our producer, I lit a sparkler up just because I knew he was going to use the video for a YouTube clip, and then it wouldn't go off because the fan was blowing. It wouldn't go off. And then a couple days later, when I did the figure photography, well, of course, I needed the sparkler again. So I turned the fan off. I lit it. This time it lit perfectly. But it set the fire alarm off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was bad. Don't try that at home, kids.
The idea was great, and it made for good content. So I loved it. I was laughing. So aside from being a wrestling fan, I think that's a Lion King shirt I see.
It is. Yeah. Good
big
spot.
Disney fan. Marvel fan. I saw you love Ghostbusters. There's been a lot of crossovers, right? So you just seen Sasha Banks in the Mandalorian episode.
Yes, good for her. What a great I'm jealous. That was great.
Super jealous. And she did a great job.
Absolutely.
Batista, of course, is Drax on the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Very cool.
Right? And now you got The Rock about to
he's in everything.
Yeah, he's in everything, but pretty much. He's about to play Black Adam, which is a huge role in the Shazam series. If you ever had a chance to play any role in any movie or be in a series like Sasha Banks, what would it be?
Ooh, I would love to be, like Sasha being this Star Wars character. I would love to just be thrown in, or even like in the Ghostbusters movie, I'd love to be a Ghostbuster. Maybe I'm like a Ghostbuster in training. It would be super cool, like just to be involved in something that I'm such a fan of. I'm not saying I need to be the leading man, but if I'm in it, if I have a line or two, and if they made an action figure out of me, like, oh my God, imagine if The Rock was an action figure collector. He has like Dwayne Johnson figures from so many different movies. I mean, that's like Scorpion King. There's a G.I. Joe, Fast and Furious. There's so much stuff. So that seems like the ultimate goal.
Man, your collection would be crazy.
I know, right? And then guys like The Rock. Now. Yeah, and then guys like The Rock and Batista, they're also in like Disney and Universal rides. I mean, that's the coolest part, to be on a ride, imagine if you're on the ride and then you're the guy on the screen or the animatronic. Like, that's pretty wild.
It's crazy, man. We love The Rock. I mean, everybody does. Who doesn't love The Rock?
How could you not?
I know. So just recently you appeared on the Miz's show, right? You have a great podcast. Again, I believe and I truly say it all the time. I think it's one of the best podcasts out there, period. Whether or not you're a wrestling fan, it has good content. But if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, if you're a hardcore wrestling figure fan, it's definitely the show to listen to, and it's definitely the show to watch.
Well, thank
you.
you.
Think that you've influenced the value of some of the toys?
100%.
Especially after the Miz's show too. I mean, that's
100%.
Network TV.
Yes. That wasn't our goal when we started this podcast. We didn't think that, for instance, let's say Steve from Ohio is going to listen to the podcast. He doesn't collect figures, but he likes Zach and Kurt. Then he's listening. He's like, oh my God, I had that Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid. Let me see how much that costs on eBay. Oh, let me get that. Ooh, you know what? If I have the Warrior, I should get the Macho Man. Oh, I should get the Bushwhacker. And then they start collecting again, or people who never collected before. So I definitely think that we have influence, whether it be, with new collectors. We tell it how it is, in our opinion. Like, if a Mattel line comes out, if we like something, we'll say it. If we don't like it, we'll say it. And that's one of the good things about not being, in WWE anymore, is that we don't have to hold back. If something sucks, we can say, hey, this sucks. But if something's great, we say it's great, and we can talk about, the AEW figures as well. But to answer the original question, I definitely think certain things that we've talked about, we've increased the value, at least temporarily.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's kind of cool because you have new generations like my daughter who watch the show, and then all of a sudden they're seeing figures from back in the day before they were born, on your show. And I think that's the coolest part, because there's even figures that I've seen and I'm like, oh man, I've never seen that. That's pretty cool. Right. So definitely a cool thing. Ileana, why don't you ask your last question, and then we'll probably move on to a little game, but go ahead.
Toyquest101 is a show that inspires kids with autism and special needs. Is there any advice or words of encouragement for those kids who want to be a wrestler or a big toy collector like yourself?
I think, this sounds very typical and cliche, but, follow your dreams and don't let anybody tell you no. It's something, if you're that passionate about something, I think you can make it happen if you just work hard. It might not be an easy road. It might not happen overnight, but if you really want it bad enough, the only person that's going to stop you is you,
That's awesome, dude. Thank you so much for that. That's really awesome, because we have a lot of kids around the world that watch the show. They're going to get to see who you are. They're going to get to learn about you, maybe get you some more followers. I'm watching those subscribers, man. You're almost at that YouTube award.
Oh, I know. And that's a problem, because you get that plaque at 100,000 and it's like, well, there's 3 of us. What are we going to do?
That's super cool, though. I know it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully before the year. If not, it's a good way to start the new year, right?
100%. Yeah. And that's it's another thing. It's a goal, very goal oriented. Some goals have to be short-term goals. Like, okay, let's make sure, for me, like this week, it's like, all right, all this stuff that I sold on the podcast, I have to actually package it and ship it out. That's my short-term goal. But then I have, long-term goals too. And then, you can't get those long-term goals, you can't hit them, overnight. So you got to make mini goals in between, and then just make mini wins. And then that will, if you win the day or win the week, eventually you'll be winning the whole time,
Yeah, true story. Let's get into a little fun. All right, a little game.
I'm a little nervous about this part.
It's okay. It's okay. So usually we have guests with us and we open up the toys side by side. But of course, because what's happening in the world, we're doing these over Zoom interviews, which is cool because it's a blessing in disguise. Like I said before, one of my favorite segments is the FWF segment, and you guys do a lot of promos. So
I know this.
We're gonna do.
Is a little... I'm nervous.
It's okay. We're gonna name some wrestlers, and either you could cut a promo like they would, or give us a line that they would say.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Hey yo.
All right. That's easy.
All right. Okay. Yeah. This is my favorite. One of my favorites. So
I'm not good at impressions. I know you say I do them in the FWF, but I think the charm of that is that they're so bad, but you still know who I'm trying to be.
It's all right. And that's what makes it fun. So let's try. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'm on the spot. That's for sure. All right.
Let's go with an easy one. Okay. One of your favorites.
Sure.
The Macho Man, Randy.
Okay. I'm just gonna do a line. Ooh yeah, dig it.
That's good.
Not bad.
Good.
I got caught in my wire here. We're live here. Got caught in the wire.
That's all right. I like it. All right. So let's go.
Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, okay. Feel the power of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yes, he got the snarl in there and everything. That's a good one, man. I don't know why you doubting yourself.
I mean, those are two lamps. I appreciate the easy ones. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll give you another easy one.
Oh no.
Big Papa Pump.
Oh man. This is a PG show. This is a PG show.
You gotta keep it PG.
Oh man, I'll just say his tagline because nothing else is PG. But
right.
Big Papa Pump is your hookup. Holla if you hear me.
Yes, that was perfect. Listen, I saw him at Wrestle. We went to WrestleMania. It was a year or two ago, and he was at the convention there. That man, he's huge.
I saw him. Was it? I guess 2 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con. I was there with Brian. One of our alter egos in the podcast is called Stomp in Paradise, where we dress up in these ridiculous, like, army clothes. Like, I'm wearing, like, purple camo tights and neon tank tops, and we have, like, water guns and stuff like that. And we saw Big Papa Pump, and we had to get a picture with him, and we're dressed so ridiculous. But luckily we were dressed so ridiculous that there's no way he knew who we were. He probably wouldn't have known who we were anyway.
Really?
But he just thought we were like two weirdos at Comic-Con. But it's a great picture.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
We'll do a couple more. Let's do
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Ooh. Let's see. What you gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you, dude?
Woo-hoo. I like it. So far, so good. Man, if we were grading you, man, I would give you 10s on all these so far.
All right, 9s or 10s. I'll get the 10. The Hogan's pretty good. I'll admit that. Can't really mess up Hogan. Just throwing a dude at the end, you know.
For real. Let's do Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh man. I could say the catchphrase, but it's not gonna be good. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
That's pretty good. That's still good, man. Listen, they'll be proud of you if they ever see this. So,
okay, yeah. I'll call up Hulk. I'll say, Hulk, you gotta watch it.
Hey, we'll put this on Twitter and see if he retweets it. Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, if you will.
That's pretty good. I thought that was gonna be a hard one. All right.
Ric Flair.
Woo! That ain't your boy. Woo!
I like it. All right, I'm gonna do 2 more.
All right.
Wrap up the show.
My hands are sweaty. I'm so nervous here.
The Rock.
The Rock. If you're so mad, ow, what The Rock is cooking.
Very good. All right. And only because I always like this guy, Vader.
Oh, it's Tom. It's Vader Tom.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much. That's pretty good, man. I like it. You did a good job, man.
Oh, thank you very much. You took it easy on me. I appreciate that.
I did. I want to take care of my guests, so I really appreciate you, man. That was good, though. I liked it.
Thank you.
Listen, so why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Go ahead. And
all right, awesome. So on social media, at the Matt Cardona, the Zach Ryder stuff, it's dead. The Matt Cardona from now on, and also the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Major WF Pod. A lot of cool pictures of rare stuff, current stuff, fun stuff, obscure stuff. You can download the podcast, Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, every week. And then we have the YouTube channel, youtube.com/MajorWFPod. That is my personal favorite because, we have the audio podcast every week. But the YouTube channel, we go on the fig hunts and we do reviews of certain toys. So it's, we have the podcast and we have the YouTube channel, but it's not the same content. It's not like it's just a podcast in video form. Sometimes it is, but other times, we just, for instance, there's one coming up. We went to this awesome toy store in Lexington, Kentucky. That should be up this time next week, hopefully. And we went last week. It was the best wrestling figure selection I've ever seen in the entire world.
Really?
It had so much cool stuff, so much, it was a smaller store, You know, I say smaller. It's not like a Toys R Us or anything like that. It's in a strip mall. But the amount of rare stuff they had for the real estate, it really, I was blown away. I was in the back room. I'm like, this is so rare. How come this is on the floor? Like, oh, we already have one on the floor already. So like it had a lot. So I think a lot of fans, new and old, will appreciate the video when it goes up.
Yeah, we can't wait. And I assume you make relationships with all these people. So now if you need something, hey, right?
Well, I mean, we do, and, for instance, I have eyes all over the country because a lot of these stores, they'll find someone who's unloading an entire collection. They'll buy the whole thing and they'll cherry pick it through. And I'll be like, well, what do you get in there? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have this? And sometimes it works out for me.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and we'll put all those links in the bio of the video for you guys.
Oh, thanks, guys.
See, for sure. And we'll also go ahead and throw Brian Myers stuff in there because he's a good
he'll appreciate it. He needs some more followers.
We'll throw some stuff in there for him.
Thank you.
To go watch him. And Eliana, why don't you tell them where we think he'll see us?
You can see us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. As far as the show, we want to thank Matt. You are the man. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to keep tuning into you, and we appreciate you being on Toyquest101, brother.
Well, thanks for inviting me. It was my pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
No problem. See you guys.